Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Cowboys Roundup, episode 10 for March 17th, 2025. I will be your host today, Cowboys Beat, joined by my co-host, Space Cowboy, who he looks a little different than what he normally does. And he's seen
Yeah,
some, he's
I'm here in
turned in,
spirit.
yeah, he's turned into
My profile picture.
yeah, he's turned into his profile picture. So, yeah. But yeah, we're going to be going over free agency, giving a grade to the Cowboys on what they've done so far in free agency. And yeah, we're also going to be doing another mock draft now that we have more information about what this team is going to look like here. And pretty much, yeah, that's going to be it for the episode. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, obviously we know that the Cowboys have made a lot of additions to this football team. They did lose some players as well. I'll start this one off. I give the Cowboys a C plus for what they've done so far in free agency. And the main reason I say that is because I do think that they've done some things that I really like, but they also have done some things where I'm like, come on, like you got to be better than that. Mainly re-signing Micah Parsons. That's a contract you're going to sign anyway. That's an extension you're going to do. Get it out of the way. And also losing Jordan Lewis for the price that you did. And right now you don't have a replacement at nickel. You know, you think Israel McQuamu might be a guy for you, and we'll touch on that. But yeah, you lose Chauncey Golston, a guy who I thought was developing pretty nicely, and now he's going to go to your division rival and play the prime of his career for your division rival. And I don't think that the contract that he got was too crazy. And I wish they would have re-signed him. I wish they would have been a little more aggressive, and would have went out there and signed a Dre Greenlaw or a Travarius Ward, one of those two guys. But I mean, for the negatives, that's pretty much it. For the positives, I think that they've done some, and also them being on 1-year contracts, signing the amount of 1-year contracts that they did sign. I don't necessarily love that, but other than that, like I do like some of the trades that they made. The damn sun literally wasn't out until about 10 minutes ago, and then when the show started, the sun decided that it was going to be
Give it
annoying.
like 20 minutes, that thing will be right above your thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So, but for the positives, I love the Dante Fowler signing. I think you got a great deal for him. Same thing with Solomon Thomas. I like that signing. I like the Jack Sanborn signing. I like the trades that they did. Look, Kyer Elam for a 5th round, for a pick swap from the 5th to 6th round, I'm cool with that because you're probably going to be drafting a cornerback that's around his age anyway, that doesn't have the physical traits that he has. So because of that, I'm cool with that. And you still get the draft there in the 6th round. You just drop back 30 spots. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the Kenneth Murray trade because all you're doing is dropping back around 30 spots for that as well, for a linebacker that has traits that can do some things. Maybe Eberflus sees something in there. I don't love the $7.5 million cap hit, but the Cowboys have money to spend. And that's kind of where I come at. And also some of the re-signings that they did do. I like the Osa re-signing for the money that they got him for. Kavonte Turpin, I like that re-signing. I like Israel McQuamu as well because I think that that's going to be your starting nickel corner come week 1. And me personally, I'm okay with that because every single time Israel McQuamu gets reps, it seems like he does pretty solid out there. I mean, I can't remember the last time where I saw Israel Mukwamu play and say like, man, he's getting burnt out there. So that's my overall summary there. I give them a C plus because I do think that there's some things they should have done that they didn't do. And, you know, for me, even if they would have done those things, I would have been like, all right, this is like an A- off season. If they would have got the Tyler Smith extension done, the Duron Bland, and even the Jake Ferguson extension, then you're looking at an A plus. So there's still some room to grow here when it comes to the offseason. When you look at, hey, maybe they do get extensions done with Micah, Tyler Smith, and Duron Bland. And I would love if Jake Ferguson got an extension because I think you get a good deal for him. So those 4 guys getting extended, plus having a good draft. If you're able to sign some more free agents, sign maybe a receiver, a defensive tackle, corner, then they could still work their way up to an A-, maybe even A+, but you still look at that and say, hey, there's some meat that they didn't get off the bone, even though yeah, it's incomplete at the current moment. But I think it's a pretty decent start for them. What do you say, Space?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day,
At the
one
end
of
of the day,
the one of the things that bothers me with roster construction is number one, cohesiveness, and number two, the long-term vision. Obviously, we understood when Brian Schottenheimer came here, they needed to take a different approach. They needed to buy in to what he wants to do, right? And on top of that, they needed to add players to this team. We said it way before free agency began, Chris, that if they really want to be a better team in 2025, they cannot do what they've done the previous off seasons. For reference, for those that are watching, for the past three off seasons, the Dallas Cowboys have signed three external free agents, all to 1 year deals. Now, things have changed. Yes, they brought back some of the players. I'm not discounting that. But my point is that it's one thing when you bring back players, but it's about what happens when other players leave and how do you supplement that talent. So just it might be a bit of long-winded here, but then again, it's both of our thoughts on this. So in terms of who they brought back, you brought back Osa. We talked about bringing Osa back, and the contract. And when you look at the cap hit and how they structured, it's really a 2 year contract. So, and you're not taking a massive cap hit this year. That's great. You're bringing back Cavante Turpin on basically a five, what is it, a $18 million 3 year deal. That's great because you're not paying him the tender and you don't got to worry about that. You brought back Trent Sieg and Brian Anger. You brought back Marquise Bell. And for reference point, your long snapper's on a 3 year deal. Your punter's on a 2 year deal. Marquise Bell's on a 3 year deal. Now they reported it was 12 million, but they're saying now it's 9 million. I guess like how the money's working out, that's how it works. But there's that. You brought back Israel Mukwamu, awesome. CJ Goodwin, cool. You brought back your special teams ace. So there's that. Now in terms of who you've lost, right? So we do know as of yesterday, I believe it was, Chris, we lost Cooper Rush. So you lost your backup quarterback. You lost Rico Dowdle to free agency, Chuma Adoga, Chauncey Goldstein, Demarcus Lawrence, and Jordan Lewis so far. There's other dudes that are on the list that can still go to another team or come back. And of course, you lost Zach Martin to retirement. So if you really think about it, the Cowboys have added more to their team and retained more than they've lost. But it's not about just what you lose, it's about the quality of the players you replace them with, right? And I want to be very clear on that for everybody watching. So who did they add? They added, in no particular order, by the way, Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams to the running back room on 1 year deals. At the guard position, they added Robert Jones from the Miami Dolphins, 1 year deal. Dante Fowler, to your point, really like the signing, and I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. You brought in Dante Fowler, 1 year, most money you've given to a free agent since Greg Hardy since 2015. That's kind of sad, but Solomon Thomas, 2 years, $6 million. The only free agent or acquisition you have that's on a multi-year deal, and I'm again circle back on that in just a moment. Peyton Turner, another defensive lineman, 1 year, $3 million. And then Jack Sanborn, a signing that I really like from the Chicago Bears, a 1 year deal with no details yet. So, and then you also added Kenneth Murray and Kyer Elam. With Kenneth Murray, for those that don't know, former first round pick, sixth round. You gave up a 2025 sixth round pick. This was a no, we swapped. I'm sorry, we did a swap. So we gave up one of our picks in the 2025 draft, and we moved, I believe, down with the Titans. And then with Kyer Elam, you gave up a fifth round pick in 2025, which was one of your comp picks, and then we gave up a seventh round pick in 2026. So when you look at those acquisitions, by the way, they're going into the last year of your contracts. So you might be saying, Space, pretty long-winded. What are you trying to get at? When I'm looking at how the Cowboys are constructing this roster, I would give this a C plus. You've added more than you've lost. That's cool. However, there are a couple things that I do not like with what they've done in this free agency. Number one, I am not a fan of the fact that you restructured the Dak Prescott contract without you using the full monetary value of the contract. And you might be saying, what the hell does that even mean? So you opened up $30+ million in cap space. And the Dallas Cowboys, they got, I want you to think about this. The Dallas Cowboys took the money they got, right, from the cap space opening, not the cap space opening up, the when free agency opened, the cap went up like $20 million. They used that money to go throw towards Osa. Okay. Not only that, what they then did was they touched Lamb's contract and Dak's contract. So we had the, well, for me at least, I wasn't surprised the way they went free agency wise, but, and I don't know how you feel about it, Chris. I'll go from there. I don't like how they touch Dak's contract. I don't have a problem if you touch it, but if you're gonna touch his contract, you need to add more dudes into the room. All right, like these guys that we are signing. I'm not saying they're terrible players. Oh, and I also forgot to add, we added Paris Campbell too, the wide receiver that used to play for the Eagles. Just as a heads up. Um, so what I'm trying to get at is when you look at how they've handled free agency, they've pretty much added some camp bodies, backups, and maybe one or two starters, depending on what happens with Robert Jones. Now, I wanted them to go after Trey Greenlaw. I wanted them to go after Chardavius Ward. Oh, space! They didn't have the money. Yes, they did.
Yeah, they
They
did.
had the ability to do the same moves they did and add two good starters. And I see Stevie Mack in the chat. Yeah, they needed to grab two. They need to grab two or three starters before the draft, like a Mike Hilton. And completely agree. They had the money to do it, and they elected not to do it. And I think we were talking before the show, Chris. Hey, can this money roll over? The money can roll over. However, with you restructuring the contracts, it's going to basically make it a wash. Hence why it made no sense for the Cowboys to do that. And so you have people out here that try to sell that this is a win for the Cowboys this offseason. But I'm going to just be honest with you, Chris, because I'm not trying to be Mr. Pessimistic FC. Because at the end of the day, they did do better than previous years for sure. However, now what you're doing is you're banking on this draft class to give you starters because you're hoping these other dudes can come in and be solid debt free. I mean, what do you think about that? Like them touching about the Dak contract. That's what I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, look, if I'm trying to get somebody on a call here, but I mean, if it doesn't happen, it is what it is. Um, yeah, no, my thoughts on touching the contracts is that like if you're gonna do that, you should have had a better plan on being more aggressive with the guys that you were gonna bring in. Um, I mean, look, at the end of the day, free agency isn't over. We'll see what happens. We'll see if any opportunities come available for them. Maybe down the line, maybe you're looking at a post June 1st situation. I will say this: the only two free agents that I'm like, damn, I would have probably have made that deal are that I'm like very upset that the Cowboys didn't explore are Dre Greenlaw and Puna Ford. Those are the two guys where I'm like, man, I wish you would have explored that option. Other than that, like even Tredarius Ward, what did he get? Did he get 3 years, 60, if I'm not mistaken,
I could
from
check.
from the Colts? I remember it was a little bit higher of a contract than I expected.
I'm
Um,
looking now. Let's see here. So he signed, there it is. He signed a 3-year, $54 million contract that includes $35 million guaranteed and 27 on the signing.
so
So
that's what, like 50, or that's 15 a year.
pretty much, but like I can look at the cap hit.
Okay. Um,
Sorry. Yeah, let me see here. Okay, so you ready for this, Chris? Because this is what irks the shit out of me when it comes to the Cowboys. So basically, it's a 2-year contract. So how it works is in 2025, this year, he'll have a $9 million cap hit for the Colts, and then a $20 million cap hit for the Colts in 2026, and then a 24 if they elect to keep him in 27. You'd be like, Space, that's too much money. But bro, they could afford that. I'm just saying, like they could have moved the money around to make that work.
yeah, now I will say this, like they're probably going to extend Bland this offseason. They already have they already have what's his name Trayvon Diggs under contract. So I can see why maybe that would have been a little bit out of their price range, which is why I'm not, too hard on them for that. But Puna Ford and uh Dre Greenlaw, to me, I mean, you automatically improve your run defense. Like you still could have signed Sanborn. Like, how great would you have felt if, hey, you still make the Kenneth Murray trade and you sign Dre Greenlaw and you sign Jack Sanborn and you sign Puna Ford? I'd feel pretty good about that.
I would have instantly upgraded this. If that was what happened, I would have probably given them a B or a B plus because the thing is too, Chris, is like to your point about Bland, the Texans, because Derek Stingley Jr. is also part of that same draft class, I believe, of Deron Bland, and they just got a contract on a 3-year extension, right? And I could be wrong about the draft class part, but my point is that, and we talked about it, Chris. They continue to wait, and the price tag has gone up for Micah because of what happened with Max Crosby. Bland's contract's gone up, and the thing is you would open up more cap space. So if you were like, hey, I want to put some more money on the books this year to have the Bland contract hit, you can do that. But that's where I'm really annoyed with them so far, is that they haven't, like, if they had re-signed Bland, Micah, and I would have been like, okay, understandable. But I'm not a fan of how they manage the money. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, 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 no. You're good. You're good. That's pretty much to me. That's all I really had there. I mean, it's kind of a shame because when you're looking at some of the free agents that are still available, when you're looking at potential one techniques, I mean it's just it's not good like at all. Um, and I think they probably need to explore a trade if I'm being 100% honest with you. But I mean, who are you going to trade with? I mean, the Colts, maybe you look to make something happen there for a Grover Stewart type, but I mean, they're just not good enough at defensive tackle. They're just not. They don't have enough bodies in that room. Um, I mean, look, Solomon Thomas, that's a nice addition, but I mean, if you're trying to get better at run defense, you can't convince me that you're actually making an attempt at that because your defensive tackle room just isn't good enough, right? And I don't want to hear about scheme. I'm kind of tired of hearing about scheme. You want to know why? Because every team in the league has a scheme. Everybody has their philosophies. When it comes to run defense, there is not a single spot, or there's not a single position in football that is more dependent on the Jimmies and Joes than run defense. Run defense is about effort. Run defense is about you wanting to do that, you understanding the nuances of slipping tackles and crossing face on an offensive lineman, and those small nuances that go into that. Like, run defense is about Jimmys and Joes. You can't just run out, mediocre defensive tackles and say, hey, go play at a high level when it comes to our run defense. That to me just does not translate, because part of that is about wanting to play run defense. And right now, when I look at this team, when it comes to their defensive line, I just don't see how you can expect them to be better than what they've been in years past. And this is something that they've been poor at for years. For years. Like, at some point, doesn't it get a little annoying getting the ball ran on you every single game? I appreciate the fact that their pass rush unit, I think, is going to be one of the very best in the league. I mean, Dante Fowler, Micah, Sam Williams is a damn good pass rusher. And then when you look on the interior with Thomas and Oso Digizua, they're going to be able to rush the passer. It doesn't matter if you can't stop the run. It doesn't matter. They improved at linebacker, I think. I think that their linebackers are pretty damn solid here. But it does not matter if you don't have defensive linemen that are going to be able to draw double teams. It doesn't matter. Mozzie Smith needs to play better this year. This isn't about, make a stride here and make a stride there, Mozzie. No, you better come out and be ready to play week 1 at a high level. even if you draft a defensive tackle, I still don't feel great about this defensive tackle room because I just don't see it and say, hey, they're going to be able to really, choke the run with this defensive line room or defensive tackle room. Like, sure, I would love if they added Carlos Watkins back to the team, right? Big body 3 technique that plays good run defense. I'm cool with that. But they just don't have the one techniques needed to play run defense at a high level. And I'm getting sick and tired of saying this year after year after year after year after year after year after year that they need to improve at stopping the damn run. If you don't stop the run, you're not going to be able to rush the passer. It's as simple as that. And I don't understand why this team doesn't understand that.
Right. No, and I completely agree with you. And that's kind of where I get frustrated with the team as well. Is like we have individuals out here that say that, God forbid, we have a problem with how the free agency acquisitions are in this particular year, which again, this wasn't a strong free agency class for the NFL, that is. But that's why, to your point, I completely agree. Like, I mean, and I said it in the offseason. I know we both said it. Like, they need to build a team based off of what Eberflus, Shoddy, Adams, what those guys were saying. They want to build a team that can stop the run and run the ball so that both philosophies are married together, well, offensively, that is. And if I'm going to be truthful with you, there's some inklings of that. But again, just because it's an inkling doesn't mean that it's like, oh my God, look at this space. You're just complaining for nothing, right? Um, and so where I'm at with this, Chris, is that I just think it's insane to me when we have individuals that will sit here and say that Cowboys fans are ungrateful or we're complaining too much, right? But I mean, we're not really like we never said that like, oh, we're ungrateful for the moves they've made because clearly, there are moves that they had to make, right? Like, but again, I'm not going to applaud a team for doing the bare minimum, right? And this is the other part that I wanted to circle back on with roster construction. Every single one of the players that you've gotten, with the exception, external guys, I want to be very clear on this. The only dude that you got that was an external free agent that's going to be here more than 1 year, assuming that he doesn't get cut, is Solomon Thomas. To me, when it comes to, like, I don't have a problem with 1 year deals. That's not what I'm trying to get at. More specifically, I just don't like when, because think about it, Chris, they have not had a year where they've had multiple 1 year contracts or multiple 2 year plus contracts from external free agents since 2021. Right? So when I talk about roster stability, and let's say Schottenheimer's trying to build something up, right? Wouldn't you want to have guys that not only are here long term, number one, but they're starters, right? These guys aren't going to come in because, like, that's what's worrying to me because now you're going into this draft class with the same thing with just extra steps, which is if God willing, your free agents don't pan, excuse me, your draft picks don't pan out. I don't trust any of these dudes. Maybe Sanborn's the only guy that I really trust at this time. And again, that's maybe just pessimistic FC speaking too much to me, right? But again, I just don't know. Because Chris, like, they haven't done anything to meaningfully stop or set up a scheme. Fuck the scheme. Sorry. um, like to your point, the Jimmies and Joes. They haven't added meaningful Jimmies and Joes. That's what I'm trying to get at. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. That's why I'm like, what is going on, right? So go ahead, Chris. I didn't mean to be a little bit long-winded there.
No, I mean, that's my thing, right? Like with this draft, like, yeah, you're in a spot where you can add some legitimate difference makers. You just flat out, like you are in that spot. But like I just look at this and I say, okay, great, you add a receiver, you add a running back. I'm not going to be ungrateful about that, right? I mean, you got fans out here that are ungrateful because throwing it in their face because they signed Cavante Turpin. Not saying any names. Um, but that's besides the point. I mean,
I mean, if you don't mind, Chris, just to interject, I mean, for God's sake, I saw some post where someone was like, "Don't worry, we have Sam Williams and fucking Tyrus Wheat coming back. We're fine." Like, get the fuck out of here with that
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah.
Messing with that shit,
Look,
fam.
all Coach Carter asked for was a 2.3 grade point average. That is all that Cowboys fans have asked for from the Cowboys in free agency. All we ask is that you do a little more than what's expected of you. That is it. Just a little more. And, yeah, they've added some players and I do appreciate that. But, when I look at this team, they still don't have really a legitimate receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb. And I think that there are legitimate receivers, granted, not to the level of CeeDee Lamb. I'm not saying that, but
Mm-mm.
receivers that could legitimately help your football team that are still out there. There's nothing when it comes to defensive tackle that is out on the market. And that to me is just that really annoys me because I just don't see how they're sitting there saying, hey, we want to run the ball and stop the run. Well, okay. I don't feel good about us running the football, and I don't feel good about us stopping the run. Now, that could all change come draft time when it comes to running the football. But I mean, like Robert Jones as an offensive lineman, I mean, fine as depth, but I think they need to find a legit starter. I'm not going into this season with damn Brock Hoffman being given the job at right guard. That is the problem. That is a
Mm-hmm.
problem with this football team. Brock Hoffman is a nice backup right guard. But to hand him the starting job to me is malpractice and not bring in legit veterans, legitimate veteran players to compete with him for that job. That to me would aggravate me. If he goes into camp and wins the job over like people who have played in the league and who have been like pretty decent in the league, I can live with that. All right. You deserve it. You won the battle. You won the training camp battle. You deserve to be the starting right guard. The fact that we're pretty much handing him the job,
Mm-hmm.
that and I love Brock Hoffman. I love the physicality and the in your face type of player that he is. I'm sorry, I don't want my guards being 300 pounds. That's undersized to me. And when you're talking about wanting to be a more powerful football team and a team that's going to be more violent, well, part of being more violent is being bigger than the other guy, right?
Right.
And Brock Hoffman, to me, he's just too small. I just don't like that when it comes to a starting right guard. His technique is fine, like he has fine technique, but I just don't think he has the tangibles that you would like to see out of
Of a
a starting offensive
starting guard.
lineman.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point you brought about like the competition aspect to it, right? Because if we really want to go further in depth with this, right? Like the thing that bothers me so much with this, Chris, is that you are not breeding a culture of competition, which is something the Cowboys have been notorious for. Um, Knowing how they've run their teams. So if we're kind of going off this, right? Follow me here. In your running back room, you didn't keep Rico down, which is fine. Like I had no problem with Rico walking out the door, but considering that it was a 1 year deal for 6 million, you might as well should have just done that, honestly. Just my opinion. To build continuity with what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah,
But instead, you brought in Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. You already have Deuce Vaughn and Malik Davis still in the room. And the thing is if what worries me is they're going to sit there and be like, this is fine. Do I think they'll draft a running back? Yes. Do I think it's going to be a high pick? No, I absolutely do not at this point because they might be like, well, Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams started in this league. They're young. And again, like, you can't sell me on these. I don't want to say like they're. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm a Penn State guy. I love Miles Sanders, but with what you're getting, And if they're going to run with this running back by committee, right now, I'm not in favor. Because guess what, Chris? Going back to the point that I made not too long ago about what roster stability and construction, you're just going to be back right where you were next year, right? Like there's no long-term solution at the running back position. Now, talking about whatchamacallit, uh, the offensive line, right? Do I like Brock Hoffman? Yeah, I think he's a great dude and he has a great mentality. And to your point, I think he is a bit undersized, and I hope that he can bulk up and so that he can do that properly. But again, it's not like you went out and got like a Will Hernandez, which I'm not saying he's great, but he is a better player than a Robert Jones, right? Robert Jones to me is like the equivalency of a Chuma Adoga like player. He's a guy that can start for you, but he's not great. And what worries me is they're going to be like, well, so like they want a position like there is a competition, but it's like the what's it called, the illusion of choice, if that's the correct term for it, where you feel like they actually have a competition, right? It's like, except it's the illusion of competition, right? Like they think there's a competition, but really there's not. But no, man, like, and that's kind of what worries me is like also I'll even do this to cornerback. I love Izzy. I think he can be a great player for what you got for him, which is a late round pick because he has played in that position that Jordan plays. But again, going back to where we're at, you didn't sign anyone else to come in and compete. Oh, you could be like, well, you got Kaiir Elam. I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't know. And I think that's like the problem is they're more like, oh, we're trusting this coaching staff to build up these players. But if that's the case, then why don't you have them on longer term deals, right? Because you would think if you can develop them and turn them into something, right? But then again, they're going to be like, get that comp pick formula, right? But again, I'll end my point on this. Again, I completely agree that they are breeding a They're not breeding a cult of a competition, or rather, more specifically, a culture of competition given right now. And I'll be damned if someone's going to basically tell me that because I point that out, or if we point that out, that we're looked at as bad guys, or other fans are looked at as bad guys because we're not satisfied. Listen, at the end of the day, y'all, we haven't been to a title game in 30 years. The Cowboys still haven't done any moves that I would say this team got. Do I think they've gotten better than last year? I would say maybe, perhaps. I'm still debating that because the thing is, you still have the draft, right? You still have the draft coming up that can help with that. But nah, Chris, I just think that that's what's bothering me right now is that it just feels like it's very similar to business as usual. Selectively aggressive just feels like selectively cheap. And I'm not saying that because they didn't sign a player for a ridiculous amount of money. You know me, and everyone knows who I am in terms of my viewpoint on the Cowboys. They needed to add, I think if I recall, what did we say, Chris? Like they needed to add like 2 or 3 starters, right? And you
Yeah.
can argue that they added just one, maybe two at most, right? Um, but again, dude,
Dante
it's
Fowler, I think he's a starter.
yeah, that's okay, yeah, because I think for me, like, yeah, I think Dante Fowler's a starter because I'm thinking about how they're going to handle that room. I think that's also part of it too. It's
And I
just I
think
feel
Jack Sanborn's a starter too.
yes, so I think that that's kind of where I'm at. Is I think that Jack Sanborn is a starter. I think that what's his face Robert Jones could possibly be a starter for you, but I don't feel. But again, like when I say that they're a starter, I'm not saying like how like we talk about like what your example of Brock Hoffman, he's pretty much getting the job because it's a default. You know what I mean? I don't want that to be how you become a starter, right? I want you to be like, and I know we feel the same way, right? Like you want to have the player be a starter because they earn the job and they're damn good at what they do, right? Unless like you feel differently about it, but like that's just how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. You want to hop into this mock draft?
Hell yeah, let's do it because god damn it, we finally have movement in the Cowboys free agency realm of things. And that's why we kind of postponed the show for this week because we wanted to see what Dallas does. And you know what's great about this, Chris? Before we dive straight into the mock draft, we can go a bit slow on these because I think we should like kind of game plan so we don't go too fast with it. Um, the thing that I really like about what they've done is they've positioned themselves in a manner where I think wide receiver could be the pick. I don't think they're going to go after an offensive lineman, despite my fears that they will, because of the fact that they have a lot of trust in Brock Hoffman, right? They brought in a guy that's possibly a starter at the position, right? On top of that, Chris, think about it this way, is that really the only other position they didn't really meaningfully invest in is defensive tackle, which could be the other position group they elect to do, right? So I end my soliloquy there just saying, like, I think that they're positioning themselves. If we're fans and we're like, we want to get some injection of enthusiasm, right? Like, they have met with Ted McMillan, and I have heard that he is a player that they're very interested in, just from conversations I've had behind the scenes while I've had time to myself. But we'll see.
So, it is the PFF mock draft simulator up on your screen?
Yes, I could see it.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. All right,
just
so
make
we'll
yeah,
we'll
and then
we'll start it.
yep, perfect. Oh, okay. Let's see what
Uh,
happened. Okay, because it went too quick, so we're gonna have to slow that down.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, and Boda. Okay, Tyler.
Armand Membo,
Damn, Tyler Warren going 6. That's crazy. But okay, Will Campbell, Ashton Genty going 7 or going 8. Who is at 9? Mike
Green,
Green,
Nick
and
Warrior.
Jahad Campbell. Okay, okay.
This to me, I'm not having much of a conversation
Is
here.
Golden on the board? I'm just, if you don't mind, I just want
Yeah,
to.
he is, but I
But here's, go ahead. Sorry, because I think we're gonna say the same thing. Um,
here's my thing when it comes to Tet. When we talk about fits for what they need at receiver, Tet fits what they need. He's an X receiver. He plays on the outside. He's a guy that can make plays down the field with his contested catch ability, but he's also a guy who, yeah, is he like a big time separator? No, but he doesn't need to be a big time separator. That's not how he wins. He wins with body positioning, he wins with length. That's how he separates. So to me, this isn't much of a conversation. This is a guy who
and
could play in the outside and play in the slot as well. So to me, I'm turning the card here.
now, if you don't mind, because I actually want to like, this is just for our devil's advocate portion, because people might say that, because to me, Golden is wide receiver 1 for me in this draft class, and I think you put it excellently. Because I was going to say similar things. Is I do think the difference between the two is I think McMillan would fit better in Dallas, and honestly, if I'm one of these guys, right, like just being completely truthful with you, I would want to go to Dallas because think about it. You're in a position where you're not going to be the guy A1 day one, and you don't have to be because you got CeeDee Lamb across from you. And it's going to help you long term in your career because guess what? You're not having to, be in a situation where you're like, oh shit, I have to perform immediately, right? But yeah, but like, what would you say would be the negative of Golden, or you know what I mean? Like, why would the Cowboys not want to take Golden in this instance, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, so here's the thing with Golden. I will say this about McMillan. There is more of a sample size of McMillan's production over a longer period of time. Like McMillan has been a guy who's consistently been looked at as one of the top wide receivers in the country, to where Matthew Golden, he played his best football over his last 5 games. And I'm not saying that that's not important, but I'm just saying like Tet has, I mean, 2 seasons back to back, I think 1,300 plus yards. So that to me is consistency. That to me is, hey, teams are going into games when you play. Everybody knows they have to take you out of the game, and they still can't take you out of the game. So that's why, to me, I favor McMillan here because of the bodies, because of the body of work and the fit in this offense. That to me is why I take McMillan here.
Gotcha. No, for sure. I completely agree with you. I just wanted, because, I wanted to kind of fill it as to why, in case people ask, because some people are curious, because, some people like this, the third. But yeah, let's take McMillan here. Let's go ahead and let's have some fun there. So let's, oh, hello. Okay, so we zoomed through that. Okay. So, any players that's okay, so that's the highest I've seen Jackson Dart go, which again, not complaining, but, because like we said, after the combine and after free agency began, Chris, we were gonna see this board look completely different, and clearly it is.
Yeah,
So
to me, I don't know about you. This to me is another situation very much like uh Tedero McMillan. Uh Tyreek Williams to me, I mean, that's a turn in the card type of guy. Like
who
I,
else
s-
is on the
I
board, if you don't mind me asking? I just wanna
Trey,
see.
Trey Amos, Princely Umam and Yellen, Shador Sanders is still on the board. That is crazy.
That's not
Um,
gonna happen. I don't know how the
no,
hell.
it's not going to happen. Alfred Collins, I love Braden Swinson, Scatterbush, Weshinger, uh, Restrepo, Dylan Sampson, Kyle Kennard, Donovan Jackson, Josiah Stewart, Travion Henderson, Mason Taylor,
Mhm.
um, RJ Harvey. See, this to me though is such a. I think Caleb Johnson. I think did I see that? Mm,
No.
let me
But to
see.
your point, like, I think to me it's between Williams and, Stewart.
Caleb Johnson is on the board.
Oh, he is, okay, cool. Yeah, so to me, that's kinda where it's between right now for me at least, because, or Turner, sorry, Turner, sorry, I was looking at a different name.
Smart.
Yeah, it's between those 2 at this point because I do believe that I do think that Williams is a better prospect as of this particular point in time. Um, but as of where we're at, I just think that, I mean, because someone might say, like, oh, you already have defensive tackles. But then again, if we're really going to be honest with ourselves, the Dallas Cowboys have not really done enough to fully address their um, run stuffing defense, right? But I was going to say, like, what, because you're an Ohio State guy, of course, what would you say between the two players at the defensive tackle position? Like, why would you go with Williams instead of the other?
So I haven't watched Shamar Turner yet, but Nick, believe Nick Harris said about Shamar Turner. I don't take my word for this. I do remember him saying this about maybe it was Shamar Turner, maybe it was somebody else from Texas A&M that he didn't love the effort that he played with. Tyleek
Mhm.
Williams is effort, motor, rangy, can give you some pass rush, but plays the hell out of the run. He is everything that I'm looking for in a defensive tackle. The guy, Aleem McNeil from the Detroit Lions, I think that's Tyleek Williams. And I'm just, to me, Shamar Turner, this isn't even a conversation. Like, I think that uh,
And I completely agree.
I have a borderline. I mean, I have Tyleek Williams ranked in like my top 25 players. So this
Mhm.
to me is like that's a blinking red light. I'm taking Tyleek Williams here.
Oh, and yeah, and I'm
Um,
I'm in favor of that as well because to me, I think for Turner, when I was doing my when I was doing my homework on him, right? I think that, and this just could be just me. I think that he has the ability to be better than Williams, but to your point, and there are moments where I feel like the effort isn't there, and that's going to impact how he is long term. It just kind of where I'm at with that. That's just how I view it. Um, but yeah, I would most likely go Williams there. I just want to have
yeah,
more.
I think the conversation I would be much more open to is Tyleek Williams and Alfred Collins. I would still go Tyleek Williams here. I get it. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I think that that's. I mean, I just if those are the first 2 round picks, I'm
Right.
looking at this, and I think I mean I'm just looking at this board right now. To me, I mean I'm going running back here, and I'm forcing the pick here, and I think that there are a lot of fun options here. When I look
But
at this
I,
this first
mhm.
line here, I'm looking at Sampson, Harvey, Giddens, Devin Neal, Jadon Blow. Now, if this is their board, I think they take Giddens.
You think so?
I mean, Connor Riley, Kansas State. There,
Mm.
there's a relationship there. I would go Harvey here. I like
Yeah, I
Sampson.
agree. Yeah.
I like Sampson a lot, but I feel like he's really good with his long speed, but he doesn't make the type of explosive plays that you would like to see. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand.
so to me, yeah, this to me
I think it's
is
RJ
another
Harvey.
it
I
this
think
yeah, it's another one where I just look at RJ Harvey and I'm like, yep, that's a blinking red light right there. Um, and then
okay.
you have your quarterbacks here. Let's see the quarterbacks on the board. To me, out of this group, I mean, I would go McCord. I don't know about you. I like Dylan Gabriel, but I just don't think that the athletic traits are there. Um, and he is obviously, people are seeing on the screen, 6 foot, 200 pounds, and he's 24 years old. Where when you look at Kyle McCord, 6'3", 220, 22 years old. Um, and I just think that the upside is there. I mean, you hear people come out and talk about Kyle McCord. They're like, hey, this guy could be a starter in the league. So I like Quinn Ewers, I do, but I just see a
He's
higher
a hurt
upside
guy,
there
bro.
with
And this is my thing is like what worries me about Quinn is that I believe the talent is there to be a starter at the NFL level. However, I think that he's just too hurt. Honestly, I just think that look, dude, you got to be available if you want to even be in that position, right? Um, but no, I really think to me, McCord's a guy that I would like. I've been following a lot. You've been following a lot as well. I think that he would fit well.
since
But
high
Gabriel,
school. Since
yeah,
high school.
and with
Give full credit.
Gabriel, I think that for Gabriel though, I think that had he been younger, I think that that's what's gonna cause him to fall. Is that he's 20? Is he 23 going on 24? Right? Do I have that right?
24, yeah.
Okay, and that's what worries me long term. But my question is this now the time to pull a trigger on the quarterback, or do we? What do you think? Because to me, I'm okay with pulling the trigger because you now need to address your backup quarterback position at this point. And I think that to me, I'm looking at this list, and honestly, the quarterback is probably or one of the quarterbacks is better than what's on the board right now. Um,
I agree.
so I would say I'm not even gonna waste time with this. I would say just turn in the card on what's
McCord.
his McCord, yeah, and just call it a day.
Okay, so we got a tight end option here.
Hmm.
Let me see. 6'5", 260. So if you're getting this guy, he's gonna be a blocker for you. Um, which by the way, I mean you kind of already have that with what's his name? Brevin Spanford. Upton
Yeah.
Stout, I hear a lot of good things about him, but he is smaller. Um, to me, I mean, when I look at this board, I'm looking at I'm looking at the linebacker here, Cody Simon.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'm also looking at that. I'm just seeing because this is I'm looking at Taj Brooks as well, but I think you can wait because you have a couple picks coming up.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm thinking yeah, Jake me, yeah, because I think I know how I think I know what I would do at this point, but yeah, do you want to go with your option?
Cody Simon. Yeah,
Yeah,
linebacker.
because that's what I'm
Be
thinking.
nice to add another one to that room.
Then what I'm thinking, hmm,
Tyler Cooper.
I really, yeah, like I'm just thinking like,
Cooper has the potential to be at least a backup for a team with outside zone based running game. I expect that that's some of what the Cowboys are going to do.
yeah,
I like Marcus Yarns, but I think it's a little bit of a redundancy with what you have with RJ Harvey. Tyrion, Ingram, Dawkins. I mean you see the the measurables here,
hmm
6'5", 280. That's a big defensive end, like a really big one. Um, you have Emory Jones on the board, Tonka Hemingway.
because I'm just trying to think how I would really navigate this. Because to be honest with you, you could go in any direction. Could we see the tight ends on the board? I'm just curious to see. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
let's see. There's Gaddison. Well, I don't think they're going to take Gaddison because they didn't meet with him.
Let's
I
check
mean,
out the safeties that are on the board.
yeah, I'm just because you can't really go wrong either. Because what's our next pick? 204.
Yeah.
Hmm. Can you go back to the main screen? Because I think I want to know how to play this out. All right, let's see. Scroll down a bit. Let me see. Scroll down. So, uh, hmm, this is gonna be
I wouldn't
tough.
mind at this point giving Upton Stout a nod.
Shit. I'm really thinking about taking one of the running backs, honestly. But then again, like
If we're gonna take a running back, I would prefer. I mean, Jordan
Jord-
James is here. That's a guy that's gonna run through your face. Taj Brooks, I like him. I mean, 5'10", 230. But I mean, you may already have that in Javante Williams, to be honest
that's
with
why
you.
I'm probably thinking Jordan James. But you know, that's just kind of how I really do like Taj Brooks as a long-term option. Um, you know,
Because then you have your backfield for the next, I mean, 4 years there.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just thinking Taj Brooks at this point, honestly, because you get him, you're gonna have him for the long haul. You don't got to worry because then you can always get a running back next year to pair with him. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of my mindset.
Yeah. So you want to go Taj Brooks?
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, and I saw that too. They did meet with the running back out of Virginia Tech, but let's see who else is on the board. Thinking
I'm
Jake
thinking
Majors.
Jake
Yeah, we're on the
Majors
same
here as
way.
well.
Yeah, yeah, because then you get a guy that can be a good backup for you, and then I'm thinking Jay Higgins if he's still on the board to take him. It's up, Jay. The bastards. Yeah, screw you,
Maybe a
Ted.
Keely Arnold here.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Red shirts. You know,
Let,
let's look at some of the other safeties.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with everyone watching. Once you get into round 7, it's kind of just like you kind of just go with the flow. Like I don't really have a preference with any of these players. There's a couple players I know that I would want the Cowboys to get in the late rounds, but again, if they don't, I'm not going to lose my damn mind over it. And I'll be honest, I'm not an expert on every player, so just because they don't get insert player here, I'm not going to throw a fit over it,
He's a
you know.
versatile safety prospect who can be a valuable depth piece as a strong safety and can operate in a two high safety system. Maybe Dean Clark is somebody we have to look at, to be honest with you. Because if we're going to play these two high safeties like you see in Matt Eberflus's scheme, maybe that's somebody that fits the scheme a little more than like a Keely Arnold. Because I'm looking at the grades on a Keely Arnold. I mean, he
Hmm.
is a redshirt senior, and I mean 58 overall grade, 57 coverage, 57 run defense. I just don't see much there. I'd probably look at Dean Clark over him
Hmm. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and do that then.
just based off what they're saying. Because I mean, we're getting to the point where we haven't really watched these guys. I did watch one of these guys, and that's Ty Robinson. I would absolutely draft Ty Robinson here.
Yeah, is how many we just got the 2 picks, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would take, I'd
Okay.
absolutely take Ty Robinson here
Yeah,
because
let's
I
do it.
and then Dylan Fairchild here at 243.
Hmm.
This guy is starting to get some notoriety. Teddy Buchanan. You want to know what? I think this is probably um, where I would go. You see his PFF grades look pretty solid
Yeah,
here.
yeah, let's go for it. Like I said, once you get into these picks and rounds, I do not care. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
player's a player.
So
How do
let's
we
look at
do?
our. We got a
A,
minus.
I think that's the highest grade we've gotten. I believe is an
I
A
think
minus.
what's carrying us is the top of this draft in their eyes, but they're like, "Hey, you drafted R.J. Harvey over Dylan Sampson," but
You dumbass. It's like you dumbasses. How could you do that? Nah, like, and that's what I don't like is like again, like there are some of these play. Like for example, I don't think Kyle McCord is a C prospect at the 5th round. I think that that's like a B. You know, again because of what you can get in him. That's just my opinion, though. Uh, but that's why I'm not a fan of the draft grades. I think it's just like if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, if this is the Dallas Cowboys draft, I would probably give it. Maybe I'm a harsh grader. Probably a B. Well, no, I would give it an A. I mean,
I'd give that an A.
I
I'd
would
give
give a
that an
static dude. I would do backflips if they got Ted
dude.
Aurora McMillan.
If this was their draft, I would easily give it an A because I'm looking at it and I'm saying my first 3 round picks are going to be guys that contribute for this football team. McMillan, that's your starting wide receiver. Tyleik Williams, he's going to be competing with Mozzie Smith day one for who's going to be your starting one technique. RJ Harvey, that's a guy to me that I think could carry or that could be the main guy in your backfield right off the bat. Kyle McCord, that's your backup quarterback. And then, you look in the later rounds here, you get a developmental prospect in Teddy Buchanan in the 7th. You get Cody Simon, pretty solid prospect there. Taj Brooks. I mean, Ty Robinson. Yeah, I think this is a great draft. So I'm going to have to download this image and then send that to space. But, yeah, no, I would be ecstatic if that was the draft.
Yes, same here, man. Look, and that's kind of where we're at, Chris. We're once again at a crossroads with this Cowboys team where they are going to need to hit a home run in the draft to really set themselves up for the
Give me
future.
1 second.
Go for it. Yeah. So, hello there, everybody. You can see my beautiful profile picture. Yeah. So again, I'm not a fan of how they've approached the off season in the sense of where we're at currently. But if I'm being truthful with you all, I really do think that you good.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I truly think that we're in a position where they are going to need to what's the word I'm looking for? They're really gonna need to hit a home run in the draft because, and I hate that. Like, and it's just so infuriating because it's like I really wish we didn't have so much pressure to hit on the draft. But I'm gonna tell you this right here, right now, and I'm gonna say this till we get to the draft. How much? When's the draft? When is it? April?
April 25th, I believe it is, if I'm not
Okay, we
mistaken.
got a month. So I swear on God's green earth. Because I heard people be like, we should take Tyler Booker out of Alabama. Bro, if he is the pick at 12, I'm going to be pissed. And I'm not saying that Booker is a bad player. I just think that for where you're at in this draft, I don't think there are offensive linemen. As I'm going through the offensive linemen, there is not an offensive lineman that I'm comfortable taking that high. My
So
personal opinion.
so let's have that conversation then.
Sure,
If they
go for it.
drafted Tyler Booker, I would be sleeping like a baby. I think he is the easily in
By
the
the way,
top 5 when it comes to safest prospects in the draft.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not.
No, no, no.
Sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you're not. No, I know you're not. But like what I'm saying is like if they drafted him, I would sleep like a baby that night. I wouldn't be jumping up off my couch and be like, yeah, F yeah, we them boys, baby. Like I'm not doing any of that. But I'm saying, oh, all right. Like we have the best interior offensive line in football. Maybe not right now, but like in the next year or two,
Mhm.
you have the best interior offensive line in football who are going to mess people up. So, I've talked about in the past when it comes to, okay, what are we elite at? Like, what are we? I think that this pass rush right now is elite. I think that this pass rushing unit right now is elite. Like, when you talk
Mhm.
about Micah, who to me is the best pass rusher in football, Dante, Sam on the edge, Solomon Thomas, and Osa on the interior, like, to me, that is an elite unit. If you
Right.
add Tyler Booker to this offensive line, I think year one, he's a guy that could be a Pro Bowl type right guard for you. And I look at that interior offensive line and I say that is an elite unit. And, once you start stacking up these units where you're like, that is an elite unit, ultimately you have an elite football team. So that's where
Mhm.
I come from with that, where I'm like, hey, I understand the outrage, but man, this offensive line would be on another level if they added Tyler Booker to that
Right.
unit.
No, no, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I want to be very clear on that too, because you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not from a place where I think Booker is a bad player. I
No, no, no.
love him as a player. Listen, we've taken him in several of the mock drafts. I think he would be an instant starter at your right guard position. This is what I'm getting at. Kind of like what no, not what I said last year. What I don't like is when they do these moves and you're like, hey, they need to properly address this position, right? And then they don't because they're like, well, at the end of the day, we really felt that Booker was a great player, and like, so like if they want to sell me on doing that, because I've been looking at some mock drafts and Booker has been kind of going in the I want to say the highest I've seen him go is like maybe 16. Uh, Trade down and get him because to me, if there's a plethora of players that you can take, right? Like if there's McMillan, Golden, Booker, um, I don't know, whoever you want to throw out there, right? I would trade down because you're still going to get a player. But like, I think also, Chris, it's just with a player like him, it's just we're desperately needing like something injected into this team, right? Because this is also what I'm worried about as well, Chris. If you get Booker, cool, you're going to be able to keep Dak Prescott upright. Awesome. But then my problem is in your wide receiver core, it's not good. My other problem is that your running back room, I would argue, is meh. And again, I'm not saying take Genty in the first round just to satisfy, because again, they haven't done themselves any favors. Because think about it, Chris. If they had gone outright and they had signed, I don't know, let's say they signed Trey Greenlaw. Well, let's say they don't get Ward and they sign, I don't fucking know, Will Hernandez. Or they sign Ryan Kelly and they move Cooper Beebe to right guard. I'd feel a hell of a lot better going into this draft. But what I just don't want them to do is settle, right? I don't want them to be like, this is the safe pick. This is the safe pick. By the way, this is the safe pick, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't want that, and that's where it's like, look, because when I say that, like I said this about Tyler Guyton last year, I was able to take the Tyler Guyton pick because we traded down, and you got Cooper Beebe in the process. I just don't want it to turn into a matter of, oh, well, at the end of the day, we needed to take him. No, you don't need to take another offensive lineman because you really don't. I mean, sure, if you want to, that's fine, but I think it's going to impact how you build out this draft later. Kind of like I like where we're at. So I don't know, Chris. I don't really have much else to add. Was there anything else you wanted to add? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no. I think I got everything off my chest here.
Awesome. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll most likely see you next week. We'll see if the Cowboys make any additional moves. Before we go, because I don't want to be blindsided, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and check Twitter/X, see exactly if we had any other signings, right? Like we don't want to leave, and you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, so but it is what it is. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see here. All right, cool. Nothing else to report. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll
And
see you next week. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
make sure if you guys haven't already, the new podcast is on my YouTube page,
Yes,
Cowboys Beat. So make sure to go check it out.
yes. Please make sure to go check that out, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you have a blessed rest of your day, and we'll see you later.
All right, see ya. Peace.